What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's Filthiest Pitches of the Day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Join Ninja Nation. And now, without further ado, here are my Filthiest Pitches of the Day. I'm going to start with Jose Berrios, who had 8 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 earned runs. He relied on this filthy mix of dirty changeups and slurves, as well as two-seamers. And when Barrios is on, his stuff is as nasty as almost anyone. Here are a couple of overlays of his two-seamer and slurve, and you can see how well those pitches work together while moving in separate directions. When he's able to tunnel those pitches and get that movement, it's a long day for hitters. Tanner Bybee had 7 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 earned run, and had these fastballs, sliders, and changeups, and got absolutely fired up. I love it. He battled Freddie Peralta, who had 5 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this 97-mile-an-hour heater, as well as these sliders. Jared Schuster had 2 Ks in 3 2/3 innings, giving up 4 runs, and had this slider and changeup. Justin Steele had 8 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run, and he relied mostly on his cutting fastballs. He doesn't call these cutters, they're four-seamers that cut, but you can really see that movement glove side. Steele can sometimes make his fastball run too, and here's an overlay of 2 different fastballs to the same hitter. And you can really see how that difference in movement can mess you up, especially if a hitter thinks it's going to cut and it doesn't. Steele also mixed in some nasty sliders. Luis Severino had 4 Ks in 6 scoreless innings and had these fastballs, including this painted 98-mile-an-hour fastball, as well as this changeup and slider. He faced off against John Gray, who had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 earned run, and had this elevated fastball and sliders. Josiah Gray had 6 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up no runs, and he relied on these filthy cutters. I thought his cutter was really good yesterday, as well as this curveball and slider. He faced Matt Waldron, who had 2 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, but the big story of this game is Matt Waldron is a knuckleballer. And here's a look at the spin or non-spin of the baseball coming off his hands. Also, check out the movement of this knuckleball that just decides to break arm side and go 20 inches. That's some filthy movement. Poor Abrams looks a little confused. Dean Kramer had 5 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 3 runs, and his cutter, fastball, and chalked fastball. Yeah, I'm not sure how he got this call, basically on the batter's box chalk, when he missed his spot, and clearly he didn't know either because he didn't think it was a strike. Pretty sure no one thought this was a strike other than the one whose opinion matters. He faced Bryce Miller, who had 4 Ks in 4 1/3 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these fastballs and sliders. This game also had Julio Rodriguez turning into fielding ninja with this outstanding play. Bobby Miller had 3 Ks in 4 innings, giving up 6 earned runs. He started this game strong, thanks to his slider, which got a sword, as well as his curveball and changeups, but gave up 5 runs in the 5th. He faced Ronel Blanco, who had 6 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, had this mix of changeups, sliders, and this painted slider. Osvaldo Bido had 5 Ks in 5 2/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had these sliders and fastballs. He faced Brian Hoeing, who had 2 Ks in 5 scoreless innings, and had this slider. Griffin Canning had 7 Ks in 6 scoreless innings, thanks to his nasty changeup, slider, and fastball. And he faced the Rockies pitching staff, which I don't really want to talk about, because they gave up 23 runs in 4 innings, including back-to-back-to-back home runs on 3 consecutive pitches. That's tough to do even in a home run derby. Moving on from this insanity, we'll go to some Lynn sanity, with Lance Lynn getting 7 Ks in 5 2/3 innings with 3 earned runs, thanks to his curveballs, sliders, cutters, and fastballs. Not quite the 16 Ks he had last time, but still a decent effort. He faced the Big Maple James Paxton, who had 3 Ks in 4 innings, giving up 1 run, and had this knuckle curve and fastball, but had to leave early due to knee soreness. Jordan Lyles got his first win of the year, moving his record to 1-11, and had this painted fastball and got a sword on a fastball. He faced Yonny Chirinos, who had 3 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, but gave up 8 earned runs. He did have this fastball and splitter. Max Scherzer had 8 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 earned runs, and had this slider for a sword, a painted slider, a not painted fastball, and this dirty cutter. He faced Christopher Sanchez, who had 4 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this changeup, slider, and sinker. Pablo Lopez had 10 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had this nasty mix of fastballs, curveballs, got a sword on one, as well as the sweeper. His curveballs in particular have been really nasty lately. And he faced yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher of the day, Rhys Olson, who had 9 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up only 1 run. Olson had several White Castle specials this game. You remember a White Castle special is K-ing a hitter on 3 nasty sliders. And I thought his slider yesterday was really filthy and about as good as I've seen it from him. And I've been watching Reese Olson since he was in high school because he's from Georgia and I used to coach against him. And when he's locating his mid-90s fastball, that slider can be really deadly. At 23, Reese Olson is another member of the young guns that are taking over MLB starting pitching. My filthiest starting pitcher of the day, if you're including college, was Ty Floyd. Ty Floyd had an amazing 17 strikeouts in 8 innings for LSU yesterday in the College World Series. A totally ridiculous effort on the big stage. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Mike Baumann had these filthy knuckle curves. Chris Murphy had this wicked curveball. Adam Ottavino had this sick slider. Emmanuel Clase had this 99-mile-an-hour flaming cutter. Trevor Stephan had these dirty splitters. Hunter Harvey had this splitter. Ryan Stanek pitched and absolutely lost his mind here. He was disengaging from the rubber by stepping backwards and got called for a balk. And that balk ended up bringing in the eventual winning run. Was it a balk? Let's take a closer look. Of course, Stanek is allowed to disengage from the rubber, but you can see as he tries to disengage, he kind of starts and stops his back leg. Just a little bit. And it's kind of the same movement he does when he starts his movement to the plate, when he's delivering a pitch, as you can see here. And that must have been what second base umpire Junior Valentine saw. And because if you disengage, you have to do it in one continuous motion and can't start and stop, he called it a balk. Was it? Yeah, maybe technically. You can definitely see that movement. Again, it looks like he was a little hesitant or his cleat got stuck. But was he trying to deceive anybody? No, I don't think he was. He was a little indecisive about stepping off, maybe. Which is kind of what I hate about the balk rule anyway. It can be really ticky-tack, and my guess is most umpires wouldn't have called it here in that situation especially. But by the letter of the rule, it wasn't necessarily an incorrect call. What do y'all think about this balk? Let me know in the comments. Now back to pitches. Clay Holmes had these wicked sweepers. Keaton Wynn had these filthy splitters. Alex Lang got 4 outs and 4 Ks, all on curveballs. Andrew Nardi had these fastballs and slider. Ron Marinaccio had this fastball and changeup. Andres Munoz had this fastball and sliders. He had to leave the game early because he was lightheaded. I'd imagine hitters would be lightheaded too facing him. Gregory Santos had this turbo sinker. Jordan Romano had this heater. And my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Tyler Rogers. Number one, I have to give it to him because they called him Trevor yesterday. I have no idea how I did that because I feature him so much. But yesterday, he was filthy with these sliders that were absolute frisbees. And you can really tell how much of a frisbee slider it is from this front view. Disgusting stuff from Tyler Rogers. And now, my pitching ninja moment of zen. Okay, this is the opposite of zen. This is what 100 miles an hour coming at your ribs looks like from an umpire cam. And this picture is what 100 miles to your ribs looks like afterwards. Not the same pitch because this was Chapman hitting Cronenworth, but I thought it might add some perspective of the insanity of what you just saw. Standing in there and facing 100 mile an hour fastballs is no joke. What's up, everybody? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. First, I'm going to start with a same-game parlay of George Kirby for 5 Ks or more and Kyle Bradish for 6 Ks or more. And then I'm going to top it off with Hunter Brown for 6 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?